Are you puzzled by form? Xiefeng, August 6th, 2020. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. Buddha said that everything with form is unreal. All that is void of form is Buddha. Buddha also said not to abide our minds in form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or dharma, but to actually abide nowhere. The article, "The Xiefeng Pirate Ship Has Set Sail," frightened a Buddhist student. Reading the expressions beauty kidnappers and love affair makers seemed as a change of color. Reading seducing and flirting scared the wits out of the student. Who is the one professed love of what one actually fears? Puzzled by names and forms without seeing their essence. Puzzled by dharma without seeing the law. A bowl of bird's nest porridge, whether it is called horse urine or dog shit soup, is still nutritious bird's nest porridge. Whether you call celestials vulgar or elegant, they are still celestials. Tao that can be described is not absolute Tao. Names that can be given are not absolute names. Buddha has no absolute dharma, but Buddha's dharma always varies according to the situation. When the highest type of followers hears Tao, the truth, they try hard to live in accordance with it. When mediocre types hear Tao, they seem to be aware and yet unaware of it. When the lowest types hear Tao, they break into loud laughter. If it is not laughed at, it is not Tao. When they do not command faith, some will lose faith in them. Those who lack faith in Xiefeng will find many other things with which to lack faith. Mere humans are always obstructed by their own ideas. Sophisticates are always fascinated by names and forms, alas. The vulgar are knowing and luminous. I alone am confused and dull. The vulgar are clever and self-assured. I alone am depressed. 生命禅院导游写风是个屁. Xiefeng is a fart. Xiefeng, June 29th, 2020. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. A thing's value is judged according to its usefulness. If no one needs it, it is as a fart. For some people, certain things are supreme treasures, but for others, they are as good as farts. I gave a pig a bowl of pearls. Not only did it fail to thank me, but it also indicated that what I gave it was worse than a fart. I gave a lamb a bowl of braised pork. Not only did it not show any gratitude, but it also accused me of disrespect. I gave a donkey a piece of gold. Not only was it not impressed, but it even kicked me. As I passed a grand ancestral worship ceremony in a village one day, many people were prostrating themselves and kowtowing. I asked a standing man who was watching at the ceremony why he failed to join them. He said that it was for their ancestors, but to me it was just a fart. Or one day I asked a young man in Africa if he knew who the first president of the United States was. He said that he only knew the presidents of his country and that the presidents of other countries meant shit to him. No matter how precious things are, how great and important people are, in the eyes of people who do not need them, they are all farts. From this, I came to a conclusion. Life genuine Xiefeng is a fart. This leads to another phenomenon, that farts are to be found everywhere. 不要活在当下，要活在未来. Live in the future, rather than in the present. Xiefeng. August 29th, 2020. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. The present is painful. Food, clothing, shelter, birth, old age, sickness, death, reciprocity, resentment, and hatred are all current troubles and pains. 9 out of 10 times, life is not as good as one wishes it were. Every family has their problems, and each individual has troubles. Troubles are not easily escaped. As we live in the complications of the human world, we have to adapt ourselves to changing circumstances. Every day, people either struggle on the line of death or spend their days worrying. Living in the present is like living in a sea of bitterness. Rooted in the present, our consciousnesses should live in the future because the future is the gathering place of our dreams, ideals, and fantasies. We can imagine the beauty of our future to our heart's content even if the reality is bitter and tired, even if it is terrible. As long as we let our consciousnesses live in an ideal state of the future, we can be optimistic, romantic, treat sad situations as temporary dreams, grit our teeth, and survive. Think about the beautiful futures that we plan. Think about the picturesque and free places in which we will live. Even if the sky falls, it is of no matter. Our past consciousnesses create our present realities. Similarly, our present ones can create better futures. According to the principle of visualized thinking, our futures are mainly created by our imaginations, so we can create our own ideal futures. In this case, why should we live in the present? Would it not be more comfortable to live in a future scenario that we can imagine? The only things that are impossible are those that cannot be imagined. If we live in the future, then we can imagine a better life to our heart's content. This is not AQ's way of winning spiritually. It is a way to get rid of difficulties and move towards a better future. We should find ways to make ourselves happy. I was born to a very ordinary peasant family, but my consciousness often lives in the future where thinking about it makes me happy. Many things that I imagined in the past have become my reality today, so I learned the technique of living in the future. I can rest assured that my future will be as thrilling and beautiful as I want it to be. When I live on the island of Balikia on the Celestial Islands continent ahead of time, all of my confusion and worries will be gone, as will my anxieties, concerns, and fears. How stupid it is to live in the present. Live in the future. As long as you live in your imagination of a better future, you will find that the present is a dream. Try to see how it works. 意识与疾病的关系探讨 The relationship between consciousness and disease. Xiefeng. September 15th, 2020. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. If someone get ill, something must be wrong with their consciousness. Let us compare Bangladesh with Switzerland. Bangladesh is characterized as being dirty, disorderly, and poor. Switzerland is characterized as being clean, orderly, and wealthy. There is a great difference between the two countries in terms of environmental sanitation, where the mountains, rivers, earth, streets, and lanes in Bangladesh originally filthy and those in Switzerland pristine? Of course not. The problem lies in the collective consciousness of the local people. The Bengalis have never cared about their environmental sanitation, so their environment is filthy, but the Swiss have always paid close attention to theirs, so it is pristine. We will find the same facts and reasons when we go to your neighborhood, and we will find that some families are neat and clean with few mosquitoes and flies, while others are filthy and have many of them. If you want to know the reason, the problem lies in the family's consciousnesses, which has little to do with material wealth, occupations, or even education. From this, we must infer that human bodies are environments, and if they are unclean and unmaintained, then they will have diseases. Does the problem come from other people in society? There is no doubt that there is a problem with the consciousness that is in charge of the environment of the body, and it can only be concluded that if someone is sick, then something has to be wrong with their consciousness. The story of mistaking the shadow of a bough in one's cup for a snake is known throughout China. Du Xian accepted a drink from a county magistrate. After he returned home, he felt abnormal with unbearable pain in his abdomen, and he could hardly eat or drink. Later, after he realized that the snake he thought he had seen in his cup was only the shadow of a bough hanging on the wall, that there had never been any snake in his cup, his illness cleared up immediately. Is this not a typical consciousness problem? It shows that human diseases are all too often caused by the consciousness. Someone felt just a little bit uncomfortable, but they went to a hospital to be examined and were informed that they were suffering from late-stage cancer. After returning home, they fell ill. Their symptoms were like those of cancer. They became desperate, and everyone in their family began preparing for their hospitalization. They went to the hospital again to get more test results and found out that it was only a cold. As for the late stage of cancer, that was just a mistake from reading someone else's chart. After hearing the news, the patient, who was lying in bed and could hardly walk, suddenly jumped up and went home laughing. There have been many such cases. What do they show? They show that many human diseases are made by our consciousnesses. When people are angry and outraged, their hands will tremble, their lips will turn purple, and they will even shiver uncontrollably. Their hands and lips are normal in the beginning, so why would there be trembling and purple coloration? Because their consciousness is angry and outraged. If there is no anger or rage in their consciousness, then their hands will not tremble and their lips will not turn purple. This proves that the physical causes of diseases come from people's consciousnesses. We can continue to infer logically the reasons that consciousnesses lead to diseases, but we have read enough. Conscious illnesses can lead to physical ones. If the above logical reasoning fails, then just observe the people who get ill often. If you observe them carefully, you will see that there are many problems in their consciousnesses. They often share personality traits such as passivity, negativity, pessimism, persistence, jealousy, judgmentality, being nosy, a tendency to gossip, worry, fanciful thinking, selfishness, greed, desires to dominate, quarrelsomeness, individualism, wanting to punish others, easiness to anger, hate, depression, difficulties sublimating themselves, having heart knots but with reluctance to speak out honestly, and so on. At the same time, let us observe those who are healthy and rarely get sick. What are their characteristics? Are they not open-minded, optimistic, romantic, selfless, giving, praising, laughing, and so forth? Listen to this. Some people feign illnesses to escape labor, to avoid a person or environment, to punish others by abusing themselves, or just to obtain the pity and sympathy of others. Children feign illnesses to avoid going to school, and the same holds true for adults. The severity of the problem is that people who pretend to be ill often are sick in their minds to the point where over time, their bodies actually become ill. Another phenomenon of people falling ill is giving unhealthy information to their subconscious minds, such as speaking from their hearts. I really want to lie in bed and have some fucking rest. After you give your subconscious this instruction, it will mobilize all factors to give you some rest, such as an injury, a fracture, the stomach swelling, headaches, accidents, cuts from knives, and so forth. In other words, their subconsciousness will not lie idle, but will help realize that desire to lie in bed. One of the Life-Genuine values is living in the new oasis for life. One is not allowed to fall ill. Why have you fallen ill? Should you not reflect on it? It has been explained so clearly in the roadmap, but have you followed it? For example, have you thought of the prayers for Chanyuan celestials who live in the home and prayed every day? I have asked you to frequently participate in flirting. Have you done so? Have you done so to eradicate the poisonous weeds in your soul garden, to be more selfless, and so on? I am sorry that not only do I fail to comfort the sick, but even sprinkle salt on their wounds, but as a guide, my being a truth teller is a fact that cannot be ignored. Of course, some people's diseases are congenital and come from their births. They are in their genetic sequence which they can do nothing about because every congenital disease carrier bears the consequences of their last life, so they can only bite their bullets and bear them. To tell you the truth, every life in heaven is free from diseases. To say goodbye to diseases forever, you should do more good deeds, accumulate more merits, and walk strictly in accordance with the roadmap given to you by your spiritual guide. 所有抱怨都没道理. No complaints make sense. Xiefeng. September 23, 2020. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. All complainers are confused in their brains. Those who complain do not understand the truth. A girl entered a food store and asked the shopkeeper for a bag of rat poison. I'm sorry, replied the manager, but this is a food store and we don't sell rat poison. The girl complained, why do you not sell rat poison? You made my trip for nothing. There was a rabbit who had been looking throughout a cornfield all day to find some carrots to eat without finding any, so it complained, humans do not care about us. Why do they not grow carrots in their cornfields? There was a worker who, seeing his boss driving their Mercedes-Benz to work every day, complained, the world is unfair. Why should he drive to work in his Benz while I have to take crowded buses every day? A wife complained to her husband, your former classmates have all become directors of divisions and directors general, while you are not even a section chief. I am ashamed of you. Her husband complained back, others' wives are so sensible. Only you criticize me every day. A social media netizen who entered a special flirting group hung around for a long time and then complained, there is no preaching and talking of scriptures or Tao here. Neither are there cooking skills or healthcare experiences. How can you all be so boring? A man came to a dictator's paradise and complained, there is no democratic atmosphere here. Why should he always have the final say in everything and disregard the public's opinions? It is grossly unfair. One came to the prairie and complained, I like climbing mountains, but there are no mountains here, which disappoints me a lot. After careful analysis, it is found that the head of any complainer must have been kicked by a donkey, their brain has short-circuited, or their mom must have mistaken a contraceptive for a cold medicine. I once complained until I finally found out that I might have entered the wrong room, taken my wife's sister as my wife, taken snakes as dragons, or become sworn brothers with pigs. Have you ever complained? What do you do when someone keeps on complaining around you? My experience is to pay them no attention because they are unreasonable and enjoy making trouble out of nothing. The more you care about it, the more trouble you will have. We can only lend deaf ears to them. Of course, you can laugh in your heart, laugh at this person who must have gotten up on the wrong side of their bed or their neurological synapses have opened, so that this kind of complaining will not hurt you, make you unpleasant, or anger you to explode. 做人不要追求公正公平. As people, we should not pursue justice and fairness. Zufeng. October 9th, 2020. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. As a person, it is a mistake to pursue justice and fairness in life. I have lived in China, Africa, Oceania with Aboriginal people, and now in North America. During the 20 years of building life at Chanyuan, I finally found that life itself is very just and fair and that no one is wronged. Therefore, it is known that Tao is most just and fair, that the fairness and justice pursued by people are unnecessary, and that it is not only redundant, but also creates inequality and trouble. He lives in a villa, driving a luxury car while I live in a thatched house without even a bike. This is unfair, someone said. I said, what you see is unfair, but people are suffering from cancer and diabetes. Is it also unfair that you have neither? If someone has cancer, would it be fairer if you shared it? Others were imprisoned and their properties were confiscated. Would it not be fairer if you were also locked away? Is it not unfair that people have been living in heaven, but you have to live in this world? Since you seek fairness, why do you not keep your faith unchanged, make constant contributions, and stick to truth, goodness, beauty, love, faith, honesty, and peace even while suffering, enduring hardships, and in distress like others? It might be unfair for the Tang monk to become a Buddha but for you to not. But then why did you hide in your comfort zone and not go through adventures as the Tang monk went through his hardships? I wanted to create a new oasis for life in the island country of Vanuatu, but I found that although the indigenous people lead simple lives, not only were they lazy, but they were also greedy. They did not want to pay, but just wanted to get, and they were short-sighted. Finally, I gave up the idea of building a new oasis for life there. I lived in Africa for more than 10 years. Not only is Africa beautiful, but it is also rich. So why is it still poor and backward? This is a human problem. People are too greedy and keen on petty theft. If all they want is to get something for nothing, then how can they not remain poor and backward? I have lived in China for most of my life. Primitive African tribes still maintain their simplicity, but that of the Chinese people has all but disappeared. Everyone has become very shrewd. Not only the city people, but even those in the remotest villages have become very shrewd. Moreover, most Chinese are generally not grateful. Not only do they not pay their debts of gratitude, but they also think about how to take their benefactors' things as their own, such as how they treat the United States. How much welfare has the United States brought to China? Not to mention the Tsinghua University and Peking Union Medical College Hospital, which were built with American aid. The United States trained several million scientific, technological, and entrepreneurial management talents for China. Now, everyone uses mobile phones that are patented in the United States, let alone electric lights, HD TVs, supermarkets, and much, much more. Have we been grateful for this? Not only have we been ungrateful, but we have also scolded the United States to death. Everyone studies mathematics, physics, chemistry, and biology, but from where have we gotten the knowledge of these disciplines? All are from the West. On one hand, we enjoy the welfare of others, but on the other one, we scold them. Is it smart, ignorant, or ungrateful? In addition, if we look at social media groups, we find that almost everyone is a judge and a master. We draw conclusions and judge people with no deep understanding of them. We regard ourselves masters, and try to guide others after we have learned very little spiritual understanding. People accuse the government of being autocratic, but the reality is that everyone is really that way. Even beggars want to dictate and rule over other beggars. Are Chinese parents not autocratic dictators over their children? Between married couples, do both not try to rule and dictate over each other? So, the status of the indigenous people of Africa and China shows nothing about unjustness or unfairness. From the creation of Life Genuine to the new Oasis for Life, I have found that China is suffering from severe disasters, but what about the inequities created by everyone? Each generation must eat the bitter fruit left from the previous one, and no one can escape that. What about the life mode of the new Oasis for Life? Who can say that it is not good? The government wants to destroy it, but to where would they wish to take our people? Can you sit down and argue with Xiefeng? China has 90 million Communist Party members, each of whom swore to fight for the realization of communism throughout their lifetimes. But have they praised the emergence of the communist seedling on the Chinese earth? Have they encouraged it, or are they the ones who professed love of what they actually feared? Are the common people pursuing better lives? What kind of good life are you pursuing? Is it better than those within the new Oasis for Life of Life Genuine? People, cheating yourself is enough. Do not try to cheat and anesthetize others. We are all Chinese. We know each other. This is it. After living in North America for several years, I feel that it offers the best life for me, though I have no love for capitalism, nor do I recognize that the American and Canadian lifestyle is the most ideal one for mankind, but Westerners enjoy more than any others in any other part of the world. It is not unjust or unfair, but determined by people's quality. People talk about the decline of the United States, the rise of the East, and the 21st century being the one for China, but it seems so absurd to me. I have nothing to say to those people who are mentally masturbating so absurdly. What are unrealistic dreams? The ones that people are having now come pretty close. Everything happening on Earth is fair and just. The status quo of each country is, and everyone's present situation is. The ancestor of Buddha, the greatest creator, has never wronged any nationality, any country, or any person. Therefore, people should not pursue justice and fairness because no one can create either one. 让自己的认知大厦全然坍塌. Let your cognitive building collapse completely. Xiefeng, October 12, 2020. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. If you believe that your cognitive abilities are the most profound in the world, then stick to them. Tell everyone what you know all at once, and shine a light on all who are groping through the darkness. If we find someone whose cognitive abilities surpass ours, then let us collapse our building projects, abandon all the theories that we believe to be correct, and let us serve that one. The process of serving others is that of self-accomplishment and of realizing our own ideals. Religious complexes and worshiping will inject strong energy and vitality into oneself. When I worship the ancestor of Buddha, the greatest creator, Jesus, Shakyamuni, Laozi, and Guanyin Bodhisattva, I gain a new self. Since then, my life has entered a new channel. It can be said that I have been reborn. Were it not for my worshiping from inner piety, then my life path would still be dark gray. Have you ever cried with joy or experienced a state of extreme calm when you were so excited that you forgot yourself completely and you were willing to surrender yourself completely to the object of your worship? If your answer is yes, then congratulations, because you have experienced worshiping. Is there any person throughout history whom you admire? If not, then congratulations, for you are the greatest person who has ever lived. If you are not that person but have no object of worship, then sadly, you are either a poor spirit who knows not the immensity of the universe, or at least a confused individual with an unclear mind. I am neither the greatest person in the world nor the one with the most profound cognitive ability, but along my way, I have not met anyone other than Jesus, Sakyamuni, Muhammad, Pbup, and Laozi. Guanyin Bodhisattva is not a human, whom I am willing to worship. This is my sorrow, my ignorance, and it is sad not to be able to see skies beyond skies and mountains beyond mountains. The happiest people in the world are those who have dedicated their lives to the objects of worship. I am one of the happiest people because I have entrusted my life to the greatest creator and my life to Tao. Now, I have nothing else to do. The rest is to find fun and play. Play whatever is playful. There is little to do except play. It has been said that we are living in the Dharma ending age, and that a saint named Ziwei will come to save us. This Ziwei saint is both the returning Christ and the next life of Maitreya, and I am looking forward eagerly to the advent of this saint. It would be a blessing to meet this holy soul once during my lifetime, and I must have burned incense in a previous life. However, this saint must meet 3 conditions upon arriving. The saint must have a systematic theory to provide us with a theoretical standard to follow no matter what we do. Otherwise, even if he or she walks on water, flies through the clouds, and demonstrates 64 supernatural powers, sorry, they are not the saint. The saint must have nothing. No money, neither on their person nor in bank accounts, and no material possessions except for clothing. Once they possess anything material, then I am sorry to say that they are not the saint. The saint must have set an example for people, whether it is by a personal quality model or by their leading people to create a convincing and replicable mode. They must have at least accomplished some ideal cause. Otherwise, even if they can preach scriptures, integrate all theories, and have hundreds of millions of disciples, then they are not the saint. It is nothing more than a dream to depend on talking to realize a world of the great harmony of the unification of all thoughts and all beliefs into the greatest Creator's will, and all religions into one uniform belief system in which the talented are entrusted with important missions that the whole world can be united as a single family. Give us an example. If the above 3 conditions cannot be met, then it is honestly suggested that the Ziwei saint should stay in the sky. Otherwise, if he or she and others were to come down, then they would not even be able to pass my tests. I have many schoolmates from my middle school, technical school, college, and university, but I cannot see any of them as having extraordinary ideas and realms because they are all merely drifting along. It is okay for them to do this, but most of them believe that they are knowledgeable with much cognitive ability and are so quick to deny others' opinions, just as the pig who saw monkeys darting up and down a tree and sneered, Those poor monkeys do not even have a fixed nest. You see how happy and comfortable we pigs are. We have nests and people to feed us every day. In the past few years, I have met a lot of very knowledgeable people through social media groups on the web. At first, they gave me good impressions, but after communicating with many of them for a while, I found that most just feel good about themselves and consider themselves to be masters. Every day, in addition to selling their insights, they are busy within their web groups, rarely settling down to read the classics or about the apocalypse, but seldom do they do any practical work. Those so-called insights are not the result of their own life perceptions, but are just some borrowed wisdom from others with some small ornaments of their own that they have added in. Even so, those insights were not worth refuting at all because most of them have indicated elusive thinking. Many people are lovely, amiable, and respectable, but are not on the right track. I look at them and think, if you collapse all your cognition structure, it would be great. Heaven is not without roads and gates. The problem is that you insist that you are right, so you cannot see them or even the way to them. I would like to share this couplet, which was composed by Luoyin Celestial of Life-Changyuan. While hearts abide nowhere, then everywhere is in wonderland. If love attaches to no one, then any time is ethereal. Ethereal wonderland. 从情检测自己的生命层次. Testing one's life level according to their love. Xiefeng. November 11th, 2020. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. Every level of life has its own corresponding level of love which is different from all others. We can all examine our own loves to determine whether they are terrestrial or celestial. If your love troubles you and makes you miserable, then it is terrestrial. If it pleases you, then it is celestial. If your love only includes one partner throughout your life, then it is terrestrial. The more lovers you include, the more you demonstrate celestial love. If the object of your love is fixed, then it is terrestrial. If you follow your destiny and nature, then it is celestial. If you are jealous because your lover has feelings for others, then your love is terrestrial. If you are happy that your lover loves many, then it is celestial. If you find love to be divisive and that the more lovers your lover has, the less they will have for you, then yours is terrestrial. If you know that your love is in line with cosmic holography, then no matter how many partners you love, every one of them will be complete and your love is celestial. If you want to control, guide, train, and make your lover behave according to your standards, then your love is terrestrial. If you give your lover full freedom, then it is celestial. If you want to be inseparable from, pester, and always be with the object of your love, then your love is terrestrial. If you have embedded the object of your love into your consciousness, then no matter whether you are far away from each other or you live together, they will still taste very sweet and your love is celestial. If you cannot be completely magnanimous about love and you are hiding something, then your love is terrestrial. If you bare yourself open to love nakedly, then yours is celestial. Analyzing and determining the pattern and state of one's love can help them to understand the level of their life. If your love is terrestrial, then you must remain a human forever. If your love is celestial, then you are no longer a human being, but a celestial being, and you can go to the fairyland after your life's journey ends. 只有雪峰是共产主义才能解决这些问题. Only Xiefeng-style communism can solve these problems. Xiefeng. November 19th, 2021. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Peter. Elderly care, singleness, marriage breakdown, official corruption, environmental pollution, children's education and protection, poisonous food, drug abuse, whoring, gambling, fraud, theft, robbery, the integrity crisis, corruption, bribery, domineering, etc. cannot be solved by relying on historical experience and current people's cognitive level, nor can it be solved by religious teachings such as Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, etc. It cannot be solved by the ideas of Mao Zedong, by the theories of Lao Tzu and Confucius, not to mention by learning from the West about the separation of three powers system. They can only be solved by Xiefeng-style communism. Here I will first tell you the fact that moral education is not as good as system construction, and a good system is better than any form of moral preaching. Elderly care is a major issue in China and the world. In the past, the issue of providing for the elderly was dependent on children. Now many Western countries rely on the welfare system formulated by the state. Whether it is relying on children or the welfare system, it is not the best way to provide for the aged. Nursing homes of all kinds are a very sad way of providing for the elderly. Caring for the elderly, allowing the elderly to live among the young and children, and to enjoy a comfortable life in their later years is the best way to support the elderly. In this regard, Life Genuine's second home has fully proved through 11 years of practice that the Xiefeng-style communist life is the best way to provide for the elderly. There are more and more single and divorced people, so how to solve their sex life problems? Let it go? Control it rigorously? Restrict by regulations? No matter what method is used, if the problem of sex life is not solved, there will inevitably be endless social problems. This problem can only be solved perfectly by the Xiefeng-style communist life mode, and it will hardly go wrong, including sexually transmitted diseases issues. There are more and more bachelors. Parents have no idea what to do. Neither can the bachelors themselves do anything about it. Should these people be left single for the rest of their lives? How can society solve this problem? There is no choice. The most satisfactory solution to this problem is to enter the Xiefeng-style communist society. The problem of official corruption has not been solved for thousands of years. There are more and more people who ride on the heads of the common people and accept the government's pay. They bully and oppress them while eating their food. This chronic social disease can only be eradicated by the Xiefeng-style communist life mode. It is because there are no officials in the Xiefeng-style communist life mode, and everyone is a laborer. People no longer need managers. Officials disappear, and the problem of official corruption caused by these officials also disappears. The issue of children's upbringing and education has become a collective matter, not a parent's matter anymore. Since children live in a collective, there is no possibility of abducting and selling children, and the phenomenon of children being spoiled, indulged, and misguided cannot happen. The Xiefeng-style communist life has proved through 11 years of practice with the children that the education and protection of the children can be described as flawless. In the Xiefeng-style communist life mode, stealing will become extinct because you have no place to store the things you steal, you cannot use them, and it is not necessary for you to steal other people's things at all. In the Xiefeng-style communist life mode, absolutely no one will produce poisonous food. The reason is very simple. The food you grow and produce will also be eaten by yourself. As for drug abuse, prostitution, whoring, fighting, bullying honest people, etc., there is almost no such phenomenon in the Xiefeng-style communist life mode, because you have no conditions and opportunities to do these things. Once you do it, you will have no place to stand in this civilized group, so you dare not. The integrity crisis is related to interests. When there is no conflict of interest between people, the integrity crisis will disappear. In the Xiefeng-style communist life mode, there is no direct interest relationship between people, and it is impossible to form cronies or special relationships. Everyone behaves in strict accordance with the 800 values for new era human being, so there is no integrity crisis. Of course, it is not so absolute, especially when it comes to affectional issues between men and women. There will also be some integrity crises. This is because the Xiefeng-style communism system is not fully operational. For example, due to the small number of homes, it is impossible to change personnel in time. As time goes by, there will be some emotional disputes between people, but once the home mode is fully operational, there is absolutely no possibility of an affectional integrity crisis, because the two persons that are together today may go to different homes tomorrow, and there will be little chance for them to see each other again for the rest of their lives. So, people will not work hard on the feelings between men and women, but only on their own qualities. It can be said that many unhealthy phenomena that have appeared in human society for thousands of years will be greatly reduced or even eliminated in the Xiefeng-style communist life mode. Then, why is it so difficult to popularize such an ideal human life model and difficult for people to accept? The government does not allow it because the government is mainly composed of officials, and officials want to enjoy special treatment. In the Xiefeng-style communist life mode, no one can enjoy special treatment, so of course government officials will not accept it, but will suppress Xiefeng-style communism. The rich do not allow it, because what the rich are most afraid of is communism. The rich want to be above the rest. However, in Xiefeng-style communism, everyone is equal and there is no way to be above others. Therefore, they suppress Xiefeng-style communism. The common people don't want it. Though common people live a difficult and ordinary life, there is a hidden psychology in every common people's consciousness that they want to live better than others. In Xiefeng-style communism, the ideal of wanting to live better than others cannot be realized, so they would rather suffer than live in a Xiefeng-style communist society. Although the development and existence of the Xiefeng-style communism life mode is extremely challenging, it represents the future development of human beings. Sooner or later, people will live in the Xiefeng-style communism life mode, especially in China. China has special national conditions. Chinese history and culture tell us that capitalism does not work in China. In history, all rich people face a huge crisis of survival. When you become rich, either robbers come to rob you and kidnap you, or the revolutionary movement will fix you. What's harsher is that when the government's finances are in trouble, the rich become the targets of harvest. Therefore, taking the European and American capitalist road will not work in China. As for the socialist road, practice has proved to be a failure because the common people have not enjoyed a happy, joyous, free, and blessed life because of socialism. In short, the best life for mankind in the future will be in the Xiefeng-style communism life mode, especially for the Chinese nation. Anyone, even if you are well-educated, even if you have extraordinary intelligence and great ability, even if you are the second coming of Jesus Christ or Maitreyan Buddha or Zhuangzi,